Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Wood. Today we are going to look at complex sentences. Complex sentences, like compound sentences, have their own little words that distinguish them from other sentences. Complex sentences have these words called subordinating conjunctions, and they're also called subordinators. And these are them right here. These are them. These are your most common ones. After, although, as if, as long as though, because, before, even if, even though, if, in case, once, provided that, since, so that, though, unless, until, when, whenever, where, whereas, wherever, whether, while. Okay, so your sentences have these phrases in them. Sometimes in the beginning, sometimes in the middle. Now let's look at a couple of sentence patterns. This is one sentence pattern where your complex sentence begins with a dependent clause. Now dependent clauses cannot stand alone. They may have a subject and a verb, maybe not, but they cannot stand alone. Let's look at an example. Even if you don't go, we're using even if, okay? But we can use even though you don't go, even though you won't go, or since you're not going to go, okay? So it's an incomplete idea. You're not really getting the whole picture. But it's always followed by a comma in writing, okay? Always followed by a comma. And then it's followed by an independent clause. And remember that an independent clause is a sentence that can stand alone. Let's look at this one. I will still like you. So this is what the whole sentence looks like. It begins with, even if you don't go, comma, I will still like you. Now there's another sentence pattern where we begin with the independent clause. Okay, I will still like you. And in that case, we don't use the comma. Okay, so if we begin with the independent clause, we don't use the comma, and then we put our dependent clause. So what does that look like? Well, it begins like this. I will still like you even if you don't go. And of course, we would not capitalize the E on even, and would put a period at the end, because after go, that would be the end of the sentence. Now, let's look at a few more examples so you can get a better idea of how this works. They're up here. Now we have after lunch, that's your dependent clause. There's your subordinator. After lunch, we're going to put a comma after that. I want to go home, period. There's your independent clause. I want to go home. Complete idea. Let's look at another sentence pattern with the same sentence, where we're going to begin with the independent clause. I want to go home. We get rid of the comma. After lunch, period. We never lose the period. But we get rid of the comma if we begin with the independent clause. Okay? Your dependent clause is at the end. Now, let's look at another sentence. Here we're using unless. Unless he feels threatened, there's your dependent clause, comma, he will not fight, period. Now let's flip that sentence into the other sentence pattern where we begin with the independent clause. He will not fight unless he feels threatened. Notice we got rid of the comma. No comma where we begin with the independent clause. Let's do one more. Wherever we go, comma, there's your subordinator. Wherever we go, comma, everyone is wearing masks. Complete idea. Everyone is wearing masks. So now let's flip it. Let's begin the sentence with everyone is wearing masks. We're going to get rid of the comma. And then we'll write wherever we go. And then we'll put a period after go. And that, ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell, that is the idea behind your complex sentences. I hope that I did a good job explaining them, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.